mechanism examination time was starting to. I'm going to talk a little about that. I'm not going to. I got a half hour, so I don't have to. But I'll talk about this in my presentation. This is whether you're looking at insurance issues, association, or auto insurance adjuster, or defense counsel. This is the story. This is so critical. It's very important. Anyway, so thank you, Dr. Lee, for that. And we will now move on to the next presentation, which is going to be brought to Dr. Jason Thompson. Dr. Thompson is a second-generation chiropractor and the founder of Provo Chiropractic in Provo. He focuses on nervous system-based care, helping individuals and families feel better, move better, and build a foundation for long-term health. He graduated from Brigham Young University and earned his Doctor of Chiropractic degree from Palmer College and Chiropractic Florida campus, graduating cum laude. During his clinical training, Dr. Thompson piloted the first chiropractic internship with the Division I Athletic Department in Florida. Experience, he says, helped shape his practical, results-driven approach. He is also an assistant cross-country and track coach at Salem Hills High School. But based on the way he's built, I think he's a runner too. He has completed hundreds of races. Oh, there you go. As a three-time Boston Marathon qualifier. Have you run 3 times?
No, just qualified.
I only missed my qualifying time by 3 hours and 50 minutes.
It's close. It's close. It's the cutoff.
Overall, Dr. Thompson is a husband and father of 4. He has a passion for the science of marketing, studying and applying principles to help businesses grow through creating trusting relationships. And he is an all-around great guy with a lot of detail and intentionality. He's an empathetic guy, and he has a genuine desire to help people live their best. So, Dr. Thompson.
Appreciate that. All right, let's see if we can figure this out. Cool. All right, I am really honored to be with you guys today. I apologize for my voice ahead of time. I've been coaching at the state track meet the last couple days, cheering for my runners. We've won a couple state championship titles and tried to preserve my voice for today. But I'm really honored to be with you. The title of my presentation today is Say It So People Get It, Turning Chiropractic Philosophy into Marketing That Actually Works. And I've been around the chiropractic industry for a while, and I feel like in a lot of these big conventions, not ones like this has been great today, but some of these big conventions, you sit there, you listen some more, and you don't really get a whole lot out of it besides your hours, right? And so I want today to be a little different than that. So I saw there's a lot of notepads and pens all over. I hope that what I share today, there'll be some nuggets that you can take and actually apply in your own practice. I've been mentored by a lot of great individuals, both in the profession and outside of the profession, people who've made a lot of money, helped lots of people. And over the next 20 or 30 minutes or so, if I can save time for Ryan, is to share the exact framework they use through a chiropractic lens so you could take this home and apply it into your own practice. So I want to talk a little bit about the philosophy just for a second. And if you've been to the last handful of UCPA events, there's been a lot of talk about philosophy. We've gone really deep into it. We're just going to do some surface level stuff today. And so I love this quote where it says, chiropractic is founded upon different principles than those of medicine. D.D. Palmer said this a long time ago, but how do we share those principles? Now, I love chiropractic, and I love that as a profession, sometimes we create these kind of stoic sayings. A lot of them are a little bit older, but there's things like life is the expression of tone, and that sentence is the basic principle of chiropractic. Or the preservation of health is easier than the cure of disease. I see that one on a lot of chiropractic walls. B.J. Palmer, he said, medicine is about disease and what makes a man die. Chiropractic is about life and what makes a man live. Kind of powerful, right? Just, oh, yeah. Then R.W. Stevenson, he said a lot about subluxation. He said the cause of diseases is multifold, but the cause of health is one. All right. Then good old Dr. Gon said, he said, find the subluxation, accept it where you find it, correct it, leave it alone. Or Reggie Gold, he said, do not tell me chiropractic works, tell me what chiropractic is. Pretty powerful stuff, right? Those of us in this room, I mean, we generally believe this, right? This is our core, right? We're here because we believe this. As chiropractors, we also like to make up some words to define things. Who knows spizzerinctum? Any Palmer grads in here? Okay, spizzerinctum. Spizzerinctum, by definition, is the high level of enthusiasm for chiropractic. You have your spiznite, you have your spizzerinctum. There's also this concept of innate intelligence. In Utah, we talk about this a few different ways if you're LDS, but we have this innate intelligence. There's also this topic of chiropractic subluxation, different from medical subluxation. But then my favorite, and this one always made me laugh in school a little bit, is we have disease, but then we have dis-ease, the dis of ease. So to those of us in this room, this makes sense, right? But what about the 2 million other people in Salt Lake and Utah counties? Is there anything wrong with these statements? I mean, we believe them, right? If we believe them because we're here because we believe them. Do you feel these statements in your core? Is this the reason why you practice, because you believe these things? But what about your patients? Do your patients understand these things? Now, little activity here for a second. Have you ever listened to any one of your patients or practice members actually explain what it is you do? Just what do you do? So here's two very polarizing examples. Now, none of my patients actually said this, but on one side, if someone really understood the complete science of chiropractic, they'd be something like, my doctor first uses his fingers to digitally palpate the subluxation, feeling the tone in my muscles. Doctor uses PRT, the pain, asymmetry, range of motion, and tissue, and determines that it's usually my T4, T5 that's subluxated to the right, then contacts using blah, 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 blah. I don't have too many patients that actually say things like that. Now, the other side of that. Now, again, this is an example. I was talking to my friend. I told her I love my chiropractor. I told her that he gets me on the table face down. He puts his hands on my back. He rubs up and down on my hips, and somehow always knows where the right spot is. And sometimes he'll say, oh yeah, this is really bad today. Then he'll tell me to take a big breath in. I breathe out. He pushes on me. He cracks my bones, and it feels so good. Then he'll flip me over. He'll put his hands on my neck, look me in the face, and say, okay, wiggle your toes, and then boom, crack my bones in my neck. It's kind of extreme, right? Hopefully we don't have patients who say things like that. So neither of these are completely realistic. Most of the time, probably 99% of the time, our patients fit in between these two extremes. So where do your patients fit in between them? Now, people explain things at the level that they understand them. And if patients can't clearly explain what you do or what we do, then somewhere between our philosophy, those things we shared at the beginning, and their understanding, that message is getting lost. Do I have any Office fans in here? I've watched The Office a lot of times in my life, the super fan episodes and everything. And there's an episode, I believe it's like the first part of the episode, where Michael, the regional manager, he's trying to understand some finances, and Oscar, the accountant, says, okay, here's blah, 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 here's the surplus. And Michael's just not getting it. And he says, why don't you explain this to me like I'm 5? Sometimes we have to explain things to our patients like they're 5. We can't talk about those high-level chiropractic principles in our philosophy if they don't completely understand what's going on. So here's a little bit of an analogy. Here's the big problem. Say we wanted to fill a swimming pool, with a leaky bucket. So we have our leaky bucket. We run to the sink because the sink is right there, but the bucket won't quite fit in, so we have to kind of turn it on its side. We turn the water on, get a little bit of water. We run to the pool, but water's kind of leaked everywhere. We don't have a ton in it. All right, there's got to be something better we could do. So then we go and get the garden hose. So we run, get the garden hose. Now we don't have to turn the bucket. Start filling it up. It's a little more controlled, but we still have holes in the bucket. So then say we live by a lake. We're going to run to the lake. We're just going to scoop that bucket into the lake, one big swoop, and then we're going to run to the pool. Probably got a little bit more water, but we still have these holes in our bucket. Oop, going the wrong way. There we go. So the bottom line is, no matter how big of the bucket it is, no matter what medium we're trying to put water into the bucket, if there are holes in our bucket, we're not going to be able to fill that pool. In our offices, in our practices, when we're trying to help people, how many holes do we have in our bucket? Do we have big ones? Do we have little ones? What if we try and just push more of this chiropractic philosophy into our patients' eyes? If we just tell them more and just say, hey, this is what it is. You have to believe this. This is it. Are they going to get all of that? Now, what about the marketing side of it? Say we have tons of money and we're just going to spend a bunch of money on ads. The more money we put into ads, we're going to just blast it all over the place. But what if our message isn't there? What if our hook isn't there? What if our offer isn't there? So then we say, okay, well, let's not spend the money on this. Let's just create a bunch of social media posts. So we start creating Instagram reels and TikToks and Facebook posts and all these things. But again, what if our audience is not there? And I love chiropractic, but I feel one of the biggest things that we do in our profession is we tend to chase those shiny objects. First it was, we let everyone get a laser, and then everyone get a shockwave, and everyone do PRP, and everyone do whatever. We tend to always think that there's grass is greener on the other side. But let's step back and look at what's going on in our own practice. Now, the problem isn't how much water you're pouring in. It's not how much chiropractic doctrine you're trying to share with your patients. The problem is the leak. And that leak is our ability to communicate with our patients. Now, so again, some of us have some bigger leaks, some of us have smaller leaks, some of us have a bunch of them, some of us have no leaks. And honestly, I'm not here to say that there is one perfect way to practice. There are diverse ways and means to be a successful person. I'm not here to say there's one perfect technique. There's the upper cervical people, there's Thompson drop guys, there's diversified, there's concept. There's a lot of different ways to practice and get success. Now, let's prove a point there for a second. If I were to poll the room and have everyone pull up your Google business profiles, which hopefully everyone has a Google business profile, right? If we were to go through your reviews, I'm willing to bet that every single one of you has something that says, 5-star review, Dr. So-and-so is the best chiropractor ever. Now, there's a lot of us in this room. Could we all individually be the best chiropractor ever? How can that be? There's so many of us. So while patients may prefer a specific style or a technique of care, patients are not responding to just the technique. They respond to trust with the doctor, trust that they're going to get better. They respond to clarity. They respond to the connection they feel with the doctor. They want to feel understood. Now, what is the general message here? There's kind of this shift. Now, you have something, write this down. Growth doesn't come from saying more, it comes from saying things more clearly. You can have patients come in and just spill all your chiropractic knowledge onto them, but if it doesn't connect with them, what's the point? That is how you patch that leaky bucket. You don't need a new philosophy, you don't need a new technique, you don't need the next shiny object that some doc on Facebook is talking about. You need a better way to communicate your philosophy. And the better way to communicate your philosophy is through a better connection. And that better connection is what's called the attractive character. Have any of you read Magnetic Marketing before? If you haven't, look it up sometime. But there's this concept of the attractive character. And as a doctor, you are half of that connection. The attractive character is the face of your business. It's the personality that people connect with. It's the reason patients remember you. Now, does everyone know what this picture is? It's E.T. and Elliot, right? They're forming that connection. We can make that same connection with our patients. And here is how we do it. Now, this framework is what I've learned from a lot of my mentors. Some inside the profession, some outside the profession. And if you take these 3 things, I promise you, you will have a change in your practice. You won't be just another chiro that is popping up on the map. You'll be the person that says, or you'll have patients that will say, go see my guy, go see my doc, go see my girl. Now, step number 1, the right message to the wrong person still feels wrong. Let me say that again. The right message to the wrong person still feels wrong. Now, let's talk about attention span for a second. I remember as a kid in school, everyone said, oh, they have an attention span of a goldfish. And it was 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it was. Fast forward all these years, research has shown that our attention spans have actually shrunk. Some say by 50%, some say more. As a society, we're not able to focus on things quite as much. Who remembers Vine? Do you remember Vine, the app? Some of my younger people in here, no one remembers Vine? Okay. Vine's whole platform was literally creating 8-second videos. That was it. There wasn't anything educational, wasn't anything productive in it. It was literally just 8 seconds of some kind of hook, and that was it. And people would swipe and swipe and swipe. Fast forward, now we have things like TikTok. TikTok has gotten a little bit better. You could do some long-form content on TikTok. We also have YouTube. YouTube primarily, initially, was long-form content. You'd upload landscape videos, you could be longer. Now they've switched over to a lot of YouTube Shorts, quicker things that have people watch with less attention span. You have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have all these things these platforms where it's all about attention. And now we swipe. Our patients swipe. People in the community, they just swipe. Now, when we talk to our patients and our practice members, when you open your mouth, realistically, you probably have less than a minute to connect with them in some way. Honestly, maybe even less to make that good first impression too. So I want to talk about 3 different groups of people and how our message applies to those 3 different groups of people. First, I want to talk about our cold audience. These are people who have no clue who you are. You are a complete stranger to them. From a clinical standpoint, they know nothing about your practice or what you do, and they know nothing about your philosophy. Now, your message to your cold audience is usually, cold audiences don't need a full explanation. You don't need to do all kinds of chiropractic blah on them to try and get their attention and help to explain what you're doing. They need to just know that you care. They need a reason to actually care. So for example, you would say something like, we help people move better, feel better, and function better naturally. Do we believe that? Yeah. A cold audience asks, can this help someone like me? The second group is a warm audience. These are people who know of you. Someone who knows one of your patients. It could be your patient has talked about you with this specific person. It could be people referred to you. It could be some mutual connection you have outside the office. Here's the other thing. It could be website visitors. It could be workshop attendees. Or it could also be engaged followers on social media. And I want to talk about I want to stand on my soapbox just for a little bit about social media. The way the algorithms have changed, when you post something on social media, very few people actually see it right off the bat. If say you have 1,000 Facebook friends, realistically, about 10% will actually see your post. Okay? Now, what happens if that 10% doesn't engage with your post? Facebook or whatever platform will say, oh, well, no one actually cares about this post. Let's just push it further down the algorithm. So the key here is engage. You want people to engage with your social media. Now, the message to warm audience is they don't really need to be impressed. They need things to make sense to them. So for example, you could say something like, your body has been stuck in stress mode longer than it should be. What chiropractic does is help your body regulate and function the way it is designed to. We believe that? Yeah. So a warm audience says something like, does this make sense to me? Not, can you impress me? Now, the third group of people is our hot audience. Now, these are people who know you, they know your personality, you're connected with them in some way. From a clinical standpoint, they are existing patients who understand your system. The message here is hot audiences don't need convincing. They're already convinced. They already know you. They need reinforcement. So for example, this would be something like, well, patient, what we're doing now is helping your body stay out of those same stress patterns long-term that you had before. This is why consistency matters. Or we're doing this because this is why you're sleeping better. This is why your headaches have improved. Hot audiences are not deciding whether chiropractic works or not. They already believe it. They're deciding whether continuing care still makes sense to them. Now, did you catch the pattern in all that? Each one of these groups of people, it's the same truth, the same philosophy of chiropractic. The delivery is just a little bit different. I never changed what chiropractic is in any of this. I only changed how I communicated it. So when you communicate with your patients or people on the street or people online or whoever, it's all about where they are in that patient journey. You have to tailor your message of what you believe, your chiropractic philosophy, your chiropractic doctrine, you have to change it for them and find where they are with that. Does that make sense? Cool? Okay. Now, how does this apply to your practice right now? So who knows what segmenting your leads means? Few people? Okay. So in the marketing world, there's different softwares. You could even use things like Google Sheets or a spreadsheet or whatever. But I strongly encourage you to segment your leads, segment the patients you have. And what this means is where they are in their journey. So say you do a workshop, you have a bunch of people who signed up, they didn't show up to the workshop. Okay, they would probably be considered a warm lead. There's still people you want to follow up with. And what about the people who came to your workshop who signed up for care or who signed up for a first visit? Okay, that's usually a hot lead. The people you talk to, you want to be able to know where they are in their journey. The key here is you have to follow up. You could do 1 million marketing events in a year and have tons of people sign up, but if you don't actually follow up, you're leaving thousands of dollars on the table. Following up is so key. You want to have that positive contact with all those people. Another thing, and this is what I love to do in my practice, at the beginning of this year, I set a goal that I wanted to help 25 new families be introduced into chiropractic. And as of yesterday, I hit family number 16, which means that's mom, dad, kid, grandpa, grandma, whoever, multiple people within a family. And the way I do that is this right here. When I'm talking to a patient and they say, oh yeah, mom's doing this, mom's doing that. Oh, what's going on in her life? What's going on in dad's life? What's going on in so-and-so's life? Oh, where do they live? And I just want to provide value to them and show that I care. Because then the next time the patient comes in, what I love to see happen is the patient says, oh, you remembered we talked about that? That's so cool. Yeah, they're doing great. I've had so many new people come into my care because of this one thing right here. If you show people that you actually care and try and build that connection with them, they will literally refer the masses to you. Now, I talked about this just a little bit ago, but again, I want to stand on my soapbox just for a second. Is it worth it to create big, long social media videos and posts, and you go deep on chiropractic if no one is watching? Is it worth creating some big, long video to post on Facebook that gets 12 views? Think about the time you're creating all of that. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong, because it's important to educate people, but what if you changed the audience? What if you changed where it was, where it lived? Facebook and Instagram and things like that, they are very short-lived social media platforms. Podcast, YouTube, if you've heard of school communities, SKOOL, they're what's considered evergreen, meaning when you post something and people engage with it, it's going to get pumped into the algorithm, and more and more and more people are going to watch it. So think about where you're sharing your message. All right, step number 2. Value must be communicated before it can be purchased. I'll say that one more time. Value must be communicated before it can be purchased. Now, one of the biggest mistakes chiropractors make is we tend to assume automatically that patients just understand the value of chiropractic. We love chiropractic. We love what we do. We love helping people. We know it helps them, but do they understand it? Do they understand the value there? Do they understand what you're doing? Value is not what something costs. Here's 2 examples. Someone says, I went to a chiropractor because he was cheaper. All right, well, I mean, cool, I guess, right? They're cheaper. Versus, I go to a chiropractor because he does so many things to help me. Value, cost. Now, what is value? Value is what something means to someone. People commit when they perceive value as greater than the cost. And there's kind of this threshold there. Have you ever been in the store where you're like, oh, I really want this, but it's just not worth it? That is that message of value. People pay for clarity and certainty, and trust increases that perceived value. Now, have you guys ever seen something called the value ladder before? You? Okay. The value ladder is one of my favorite parts of my business because it helps me know where people live and what I need to do. It is literally the lifeblood of what my focus is. Now, in this case, we're going to have connection on the y-axis, right? Then we're going to have perceived value or trust on the x-axis. Now, at the bottom of this rung, this staircase, are things like social media content, flyers that are given out, or even sometimes ads. This connection with the patient, a little bit lower. Perceived value, also not really understood at that point. So let's say someone somehow sees an ad or gets a flyer like, oh, I need that in my life. Let me click on it. They sign up for a workshop. They come in for their first visit. The connection has now gone up a level. The trust has also gone a little bit higher. Then they have their first visit. They continue with care. They become an active patient. They start getting better. And then at the very end, they become an advocate for your office. They refer people to your office. They become a loyal follower. As they go on this journey, connection goes up, perceived value goes up. Now, people will literally drive past other chiropractors to go somewhere they value and trust more. In Utah County, we have a lot of chiropractors. There's a lot all around this place. And people have their docs that they go to because they find the value in the doc that they go to. Now, everything you do in your practice, every single thing you do as far as conversations, what you post, how you interact with people, all of it should be through the lens of how do we move people up this ladder. Every step should increase the connection and that perceived value. And everything you do should help people move from one step to the next But you also want to continue to bring new names into this, and that's a topic for another day. But there's something that is really unique as you move up this value ladder. The further people travel on this journey, the more money you guys are going to make. If you have a patient who has great results, who has, they trust you, they believe in you, they share what you do, and they start referring everyone to you, the higher you take them on that value ladder, the more dividends that you'll have there. Cool? Step 2. Okay, step 3. I'm going to fly through this just a little bit. Step 3, trust compounds through repetition. Step 3 is trust compounds through repetition. I love this quote, and I don't know who says it, but it's say the same truth 100 different ways. Most chiropractors quit communicating long before patients quit needing to hear it. How does that feel? Most chiropractors quit communicating long before patients quit needing to hear it. Sometimes we say it once, sometimes we say it twice, and then we kind of just think that they understand it. We said it a few times, they just know. But trust is rarely built through one exposure. Trust is built through repetition. Now, we recognize these brands, MasterCard, Subway, Burger King. MasterCard, their kind of tagline says, there's some things money can't buy, but for everything else, there's MasterCard. Or Subway, eat. Burger King, have it your way. And who knows what this, I don't know if you could actually see it, but it says, it's my money and I need it now. Call J.G. Wentworth, 877. It's funny how that works, isn't it? Now, you've heard these messages hundreds of times. You've seen it in many different ways. You've seen it online, you've seen it in commercials. We get the same message over and over and over again. Sometimes we trust the company, sometimes we don't, but it happens through repetition. So how often do you find yourself repeating the same set of stretches to the same patient? And they come in like, doc, isn't there just a couple stretches I can do that's just going to take care of this? And realistically, it's probably the same ones you talked about on visit 2, and then you talked about on visit 3, and then you talked about on visit 4. It's repetition. You continually repeat yourself to the patients. Trust compounds through repetition. The chiropractors who grow usually aren't saying something revolutionary every week. They're saying the same thing, something meaningful repeatedly. So here's something to take home. Be consistent with your social media posts. Meaning, if you haven't posted in a year, don't post one and then don't post for another year. What's the saying? The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is today, or something like that. If you haven't been active on social media, start today. Do something simple. Literally, your social media, your online presence will grow the more you nurture it. Here's a little golden nugget. Did you know that your Google business profile is what actually ChatGPT is referencing? Not so much your website. It will pull up your Google business profile first, then go to your website. So treat your Google business profile as a living entity. You could post updates, like status updates to your Google business profile. You could post photos to your thing. You can also update all the services, all the things you do, whether it's something big or something small, all within your Google business profile. And when someone is searching for you online, Google search is kind of dying a little bit. ChatGPT and AI is what's starting to take over. It's going to reference that first. So post frequently, update, have consistent style, make sure your flow of your profiles in your social media, you're not posting about, family life over here and, a workshop over here. Be consistent in your message. Speaking of workshops are a great way to bring patients into your practice. It's a great way to have conversations with people. Now, if you're a pediatric doc, you're probably going to do a lot of workshops on prenatal care, postnatal care, babies, things like that. A prenatal doc is probably not going to do a whole workshop on PRP. I hope not. It's a whole different world, right? Same thing with consults. Don't reinvent the wheel each time. Be consistent in how you approach your care and your message with patients. Your stories. Comedians. So comedians, when they do their Netflix special, they spend a lot of time rehearsing the jokes that land. They're like, okay, I have 10 jokes here. Jokes 1 through 8 worked, 9 and 10 didn't work. Okay, let's go to the next spot. Let's kind of pivot a little bit, add some other jokes. You always want to improve your stories. Be a master storyteller. Patients will connect with your stories. And that leads to conversations. What you say to one patient, make sure it's consistent with what you say to another patient. That is one of the fastest ways to lose trust. If you say one thing to one person, make sure it's the exact same thing as what you say to another patient, as far as how you practice and how you treat and what you believe. Emails and follow-ups are the same way. So just to review, step number 1, the right message to the wrong person still feels wrong. Step number 2, value must be communicated before it could be purchased. And step number 3, trust compounds through repetition. Now, most patients don't fully understand chiropractic the first time they hear it. Sometimes they don't understand it the second time. Sometimes they don't understand it the fifth time. But over time, through repeated, clear communication, the message begins to stick. What you believe as a chiropractor, your chiropractic philosophy, will rub off on them and they'll start to believe it. And when they start to believe it, that's when we begin to start changing the world even more. I love being a chiropractor because we are quite literally superheroes on the streets. There are people who come to us that have been to other doctors, just like we've heard earlier today. People will come to you because they don't know what else to do. And if you believe to your core those principles of chiropractic, you can help them get to that next level. Thank you.
They say that they won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made it, right? That trust value.